Hello, so today we're going to be playing 10 Hours Below. This is quite an interesting game, though that might not be the right word for it. Experience is probably a better description. Essentially, we don't have an end goal or an objective in this. It's just essentially an experience where we watch this house that you can see on screen slowly being enveloped by water and decaying over time. I presume it is actually 10 hours below. I haven't calculated how long you can actually wait here and watch it, but I presume that's where the name comes from and that's what it's a reference to. Calling it a game, though, seems a bit off because it's not really what you'd expect typically from a game. It kind of reminds me a lot of the experiences you used to get with the apps. Well, yeah, the applications you used to get in the 90s as entertainment on the PC that didn't really have an end goal but were interactive experiences, which sounds a bit flowery, but calling them a game doesn't seem right at the same time. Essentially, the point of them was to just have fun in a colourful and interactive way, but you didn't really have a goal or an end result to get to. Like you'd have paint apps and stuff. So let's get into this first, and I'll come back to that. So essentially, we have this viewpoint over a house. The house we can see. We can turn. Oh, okay. We can move the camera, up, down, left, right. We can zoom in, zoom out. We can swivel it round somehow. Is that this one? Okay, it's this one. And basically observe the house. So I can try and zoom in. Yeah, I think you get the idea. So essentially, it's an interactive experience where we watch the house and we can change where we're watching it from, like the position of the camera, and like zoom in, zoom out, while it gets enveloped by the ocean and slowly begins to decay across this time span. We can actually move this forward and back, but I'm leaving it for the moment. And essentially, there isn't really a goal, but you can, as part of the experience, you can look out for sightings of monsters. Or creatures is probably a better description because they don't hurt us, they can't hurt us, we can just see them. Sort of like I don't know how to describe them really, but like urban myths, not urban myths, sorry. Like legendary characters, sorry, legendary creatures, like giant giant whales, or deep, like the kraken, for example. Is that sort of creature we can catch sight of, like something that probably doesn't really exist, but is interesting to see. And there's free to see. But yeah, it sort of reminds me of some of the games, in inverted commas, you got in the 90s, where it was essentially like a downloadable program for your PC for like Windows, but it wasn't really a game in the sense that we generally understand the concept. You didn't have levels, or you didn't have a general purpose. It was just like a themed experience. Like I think you get like paint apps where you had an interesting GUI and a theme, but then there wasn't really a point to it. Probably should have researched this more because it's been a long time since I experienced these games. Probably should have researched this more before I started talking about it, but hey hey. It just reminds me of that. Because, like, yeah, I remember one that was like a Star Wars one, and it was like a downloadable skin for your PC, but then you also had like a game where you could, I think, maneuver Luke around like various environments from the early Star Wars movies. But this was more of a thing during the 90s, I think, or during like the early Windows era, like Windows 95 and ME. But yeah, let's get looking for the monsters. You know what we'll do first, actually? Let's show you the different stages of what happens to the house. So if you look, this is before any damage has been done. If you move forward, you can slowly see the water gets deeper and deeper. So water envelops the house around here. And then at that point, stuff starts to grow across the house. I think we got the first sighting or the last sighting. There you go, you can just about see it. It's going to swim up in front of us in a second, I think. That's what it's supposed to do anyway. So I think there's one about here. Oh, you can't see the mouse cursor, can you? About the halfway point, just before the halfway point. Like 44, 48, I think. Then there's one like 2/3 of the way through. No, 3/4 of the way through. Around 88, I think. But we'll search for them. We'll try and get all three. It's a bit fiddly to line them up correctly and to actually find them. And okay, the game does call them monsters. Guess what? That's what we'll go with then. But I don't think they're monsters in the sense that they're they're things we should be afraid of. Like, they're more like mythical beasts, if that makes sense. Is it cryptids? Is that the name for them? So this doesn't trigger until right at the end, I don't think. So this is why this is a bit of a pain. Because you can't really maneuver it around the timeline with enough with enough like control to really get to the right time. But hey ho, I guess we can talk about the weather in the meantime or our weekend plans. It's quite a tranquil experience, to be honest. Like, if you didn't know where to look for the monsters, like, you could just sit here and, like, sort of zone out. So, fingers crossed we triggered it right. Oh, okay, yeah, I think we have. Hence the noise. So, this one is quite creepy, to be honest. But I don't think it's a threat per se. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So I think the next one's around here somewhere. It's like this whale creature that sort of loiters around the house briefly. Can't remember the time code for it. I think you can see it in the little image, so we might be able to sort of cheat. It doesn't seem likely, actually. Let's go for the one up here. There we go. So yeah, this one is just like a bunch of mermen that swim around the house, which is cool. Okay, it does give you that time once you've seen it. Damn it! Yeah, there you go. You can hear it. We can hear it starting anyway. Ah, there you go. So yeah, these guys don't fly up to the camera. At least I don't think they do. They just sort of swim around it for a bit and then disappear, which is cool. I didn't realise how long this goes on for. So I'm really torn between the fact this is now getting a bit dull and wanting to like show it all. I don't think they do anything else though, is the thing. And I'm not sure what else to say about this. Because it is pretty cool, but at the same time, like, they're just swimming in a circle. Oh god, this goes on for a while. Okay, yeah, that's too much. Let's go look for the whale creature. Just try and do this until we spot it, I guess. Yeah, maybe I was wrong then. I was thinking like you could see the creature in the thumbnail, but you can't see the merman, can you? So maybe I was wrong. I think this one's harder to get because it's only there briefly, like it just swims by the house and then just disappears. Oh, there we go. 44,185. Okay. See, what was that, like 60 seconds or something? It's probably the closest we can get without like spending 20 minutes just skimming around the bar. There you go. God, that's beautiful. Is that it? Something about like harmless creatures like that that just reminds you of like Shadow of the Colossus a lot. Like those sort of like giant monsters that don't actually do any harm, but like they just seem like magical in some way. You know what I mean? Maybe magical's not the right word, but you know, like epic and sort of otherworldly. But yeah, that's 10 hours below. I don't think there's really anything else I need to show off. It's an interesting little experience. I hope the dev does more. I'd love to see something like this, but fleshed out further, so that there's more to do. Because it does remind me, as well as reminding me of those sort of 90s entertainment applications, it does also sort of remind me of like FMV games from the 90s. You know, like Ground Zero Texas and Night Trap and all that. I like the idea of having a game where you have a fixed perspective or like limited control over your perspective, but then you have a role to play or a job to do with that limited perspective. And though I can't really think of a specific thing I want the player to be able to do in this situation, I do think it has potential if they can flesh it out. I mean, not necessarily us watching a house, but you know what I mean? Us being the viewer or the voyeur looking down on a subject and having limited control options in the environment. It'd be quite interesting. But yeah, as I say, that was 10 hours below. I hope that was fun to watch. It was a bit long. There were some kind of tedious periods, so I apologise about that, but I think that's part of the experience.